Hi guys, welcome back to Brew and Build. This week I'm going to have a look at a beer that I've been brewing. It's Framgarden Blonde. Now this beer came about because I was using the Framgarden Kvike from White Labs in another beer, and the taste profile that I was noticing in it kind of lent itself to a different hops to what I was using. At the time I was using Huell Melon hops with the idea that it was going to go along with the taste that White Labs sort of put on their information sheet, which is Huell Melon and Cantaloupe flavours. Now, to be honest, I'm not sure I get melon or cantaloupe from the Framgarden yeast exactly, but there is a fruitiness to it, definitely, but there's also a bit of a sourness to it. There's a very light, sour, sort of sharpish note to it. And what it reminded me of a little bit was pineapple, if I'm perfectly honest. So the idea was to couple that up then with Galaxy hops and try and bring out the pineapple notes of Galaxy hops and create this hopefully reasonably authentic pineapple fruit flavoured pale ale. So the recipe I came up with is 1.65 kilograms of pale malt. Now that should give us obviously the depth of malt and the slightly more kilned taste from pale malt rather than Pilsner. But then I'm going to put in 1.65 kilograms of Pilsner malt so that we get the bready notes, the lighter bready notes from Pilsner as well. So we've got best of both worlds on that one. Now I want this to be a little bit sweet. I want it to have a decent malt presence. I certainly don't want to use crystal malt in this. I don't want to make it caramelly sweet. So what I'm using is 200 grams of dark Munich, and that brings that sweet flavour, the depth of malt. Being the dark Munich, it's slightly sharper, so it's not a cloying sort of sweetness, but it darkens down the body, the colour of the beer as well, and deepens the flavour. On the back of that, I'm using 250 grams of wheat malt. And I always find wheat malt slightly richens a beer. It makes it a little bit silky. It does add or emphasises the sweet notes, I think, in beer. And to be honest, if no other reason, it gives a decent head retention generally. So that's the grain bill. Moving on to the hops, I'm bittering with 13 grams of Fuggles at 60 minutes. Now the other flavours we're getting from the Fuggles obviously are the more herbal notes that Fuggles will bring as well, but mostly it's there just for bitterness. Getting down to the flavour aspect of it, at 10 minutes to go in the boil, I've got 14 grams of Galaxy. Then I've got another 25 grams of Galaxy going in the whirlpool, and the whirlpool is at 74 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes. The yeast I'm using, as I say, it's Framgarden Kvike yeast from White Labs. It's the White Labs 4051 yeast. I'm going to ferment that at, or I did ferment that at 30 degrees Celsius. It can be fermented somewhat higher than that, but 30 I find is fine. It goes like a rocket. It ferments nice and cleanly. And the fermentation, I mean, to be honest, it's done in about 4 days. I generally leave it for 2 weeks to make absolutely sure I've got every last bit of fermentation out of it, but generally speaking, it's done in about 4 or 5 days. And the water profile is nothing special. It's just a yellow balanced profile. So keep it nice and light. So we'll break off and have a look at the brew day and the process, and then come back and open up the beer. Okay, after all of that process, let's get the beer open and have a taste of it. So it's not absolutely crystal clear, this beer. It's been sitting out in the cold, and it's really cold at the moment, so it does have a bit of chill haze. But to be honest, I find the Framgarden, it's either the Framgarden or the wheat malt, or the combination of both, but they leave a very slight haze in the beer that doesn't settle out over time. It just leaves a very, very slight haze the whole time. Even still though, it's a nice looking beer, nice colour to it. I get a shot of that. So it is a nice looking beer. It's a nice smelling beer. The pineapple really comes through. The Galaxy really shines through. It's really, really cold at the moment, so it's not coming through as strongly as usual, but it's definitely there. What you notice in the first drink of it is the Munich malt. Especially at this really cold temperature of the beer, the Munich comes through, and you get that depth of malt character. It then sort of fades away, the malt character, and what comes through is the pineapple, which is fantastic. It's a real success on the pineapple flavour. Quite often I find when pineapple comes through in beer, it doesn't taste particularly authentically pineapple-y. It does taste like hops, or it does taste like almost sort of fake pineapple taste, and it can be too much. But the slight sourness of this yeast just it makes it more authentic to the actual fruit. When you eat a piece of pineapple, it's not just sweet candy type pineapple flavor. It's got that citric acid, it's got that bite to it, and the Framgarden yeast has that slight sourness, that slight acidity that makes the fruit flavors more authentic. The body is good. It's a light beer. It's very refreshing. It's got enough depth of malt there to you could drink it really at any time of year. Don't think that this is a purely hot weather beer. It's got enough depth and body to it that you could quite happily drink this beer in any weather. And in fact, being winter at the moment, it's still going down very well. But it does come into its own, definitely, I think, during the summer. And those fruit notes, those pineapple notes, really work very well. It's more of a success story, I think, for the yeast than Galaxy. I mean, we've all used Galaxy hops. We all know the flavour profile of that. It's this yeast that brings something a little bit different to it. And to be honest, I think it'd work well with probably quite a number of other hops as well. But it definitely emphasises that pineapple note. Anyway, I might head inside into the warm and finish this off. So until next time, folks, life's good, drink more beer.